You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Dave McCalman is a three-time Paralympic medalist for New Zealand. He was an elite, able-bodied basketball player, becoming the first Kiwi to play in the Australian National League and then taking up a scholarship at a US college. But in his freshman year in 1980, he misjudged the depth of the water, jumping into a water hole, and sustained serious spinal injuries. Following his disability, he moved into able-bodied basketball coaching, leading teams to national titles before later taking up para-athletics. Just 6 weeks out from his Paralympic debut at Barcelona in 1992, they removed his favoured pentathlon from the program, and he instead entered the javelin, becoming New Zealand Paralympian number 80. He won a javelin silver medal at the 1996 Paralympic Games and 2 golds in javelin and the restored pentathlon at the Sydney 2000 Paralympics. He made his 4th and final Paralympic appearance in Athens in 2004. He has coached in both disability and mainstream sports, including wheelchair rugby and wheelchair basketball. Dave McCalman recently retired after 19 years working for the Helberg Foundation, but is still very involved in sport. And he's published a book on his life. It's called Here's to Life and All That Jazz. Dave McCalman is with us. Congrats on the book, Dave. All That Jazz in the title. Does that refer to your love of jazz music?
Hey, Chase, thanks very much for having me on, mate. Wow, what an introduction. Yeah. My mother played around with her jazz singing in the late 40s in Wellington when she was a young girl, and pretty much all the records in our house were jazz.
Wonderful. Well, as I said, lots to unpack. Maybe we can start with a general look back. How do you reflect in general terms on your career as an elite para-athlete?
Paralympics gave me an opportunity to fulfill my potential, I think, as an athlete. That was the difference. Cut short in basketball, I really dedicated many years and hours to improving and getting good at basketball. And when that opportunity was removed, Paralympics gave me that opportunity. Took me a little while. I had to go through some transition of coaching and socializing through the 80s when I coached able-bodied basketball. But 92 Barcelona Paralympics was a bit of a dream, really, for me to be an athlete again. So Paralympics really gave me a lot in my life.
Is that true about 92? They removed pentathlon, but they removed it almost, just a few weeks before the Games. What happened there?
So basically they needed 6 athletes from 5 countries to constitute an event. And the Paralympics have many events. If you think about the different disability types and the 100 metres and both genders, there's a lot of events. So it's a tight schedule. So, once the final entries were in, that was the call the organising committee made.
So, So obviously it came back in 2000, which we'll get to, but you competed in the javelin and then your first Paralympic medal, the silver in the javelin in 1996. Tell us about that.
Good story there. Suddenly this Iranian athlete turned up out of nowhere and was breaking world records left, right and centre. And I'd been doing my training in the Caddy Wrestling Club with a great wrestling mate of mine, Andy Roach, and we'd worked out a system that I could throw pretty good javelin through the winter. Anyway, I got out there and I threw the world record and thought I was in the money. And the Iranian with his last throw beat me by 1.5 meters. And that was the same in all of the 3 field events, actually. So, that was the sad one. But, hey, I started that medal count and got a silver and I was wrapped.
And double gold at Sydney 2000 in the javelin and obviously at that stage the restored pentathlon. How vivid are your memories of Sydney 2000?
Yeah, still very vivid. And I guess the being persistent and staying with it, because I went back and I got the Iranian in 2000 and I finally got the quadriplegic pentathlon. So, you stay with it long enough, it'll come to you. Very vivid. Great story around the javelin. So Murray Helberg had been spoken to our team prior to us leaving Auckland, and I took a look at what he had said about his Rome gold medal and being in the call-up room. So I followed his instructions very closely. I was the world record holder at that time, and so had he been. So it all went well, all went to plan. And bang, got the stadium to finally play the New Zealand national anthem, because that Sydney Olympics, I think it was only Rob Waddell that got a gold.
Yeah, dead right, and out on the water, not in the stadium. So what was the advice that Sir Murray gave you about being in the call room beforehand?
Basically, look at all your competitors in the eyes. Stare them down, and also that there was a metaphoric sort of a door at the end of the room where the champions step through, and be prepared to lose yourself in the event. And that sort of mental focus, really. Love that.
Yeah. That would make anybody want to go out there and compete to the best of their ability. If Sir Murray Helberg's giving you advice like that, what a champion piece of advice. What happened in 1980, Dave, that led to your spinal injury?
Youthful enthusiasm. Been out to this water hole, which was sort of in a canyon area. Prior with a few of the local guys from town, and that finished my last class walking across the field with a Hawaiian guy, 40 degrees, getting very hot in the San Joaquin Valley, and I hatched this plan, let's go for a swim. And as I say, I sort of got to the spillway and went down on my feet and dove into the water, not thinking anything of it, and the water was so shallow I hit my head on the bottom. So, instantly paralysed, survival to not drown, and then the ordeal of not having enough medical insurance. My coach was brilliant, turned up, and pretty much sergeant, major, got everybody going, and I ended up in Fresno Community Hospital and got my surgery, which allowed me then to sit up and start working out again. And that's pretty much how I pursued it as a physical challenge all the way through.
But it changed your life, obviously, completely. Did it, or how long did it take for you to come to terms with it?
It comes and goes. There's wheelchair blues, I used to call it. But about 3 years, you pretty well get into a fairly consistent routine, and you're happy with it, and you understand what you can do and what you can't do, and you concentrate on what you can do. And then I would say at 7 years, you're probably unconsciously operating as a wheelchair user, and it does take that time. But as I said, I think the physical aspect of it is the focus, and that's where Paralympics are so good. Being able to get out there and test yourself, learn from others, that sort of thing.
You already had a tremendous work ethic in order to get to where you got to in able-bodied basketball. Did you find that just carried on? The work ethic didn't disappear, and that's what allowed you to excel as a para-athlete?
Yeah, I think so, but I did spend a decade from the 80s to the start of the 90s. I started preparing for Barcelona at the end of 1990s basketball season when I coached Waikato women, Carolyn Gray and Shelley Meads and a number of other athletes. We beat Auckland in overtime. So that whole 10 years, and I was in Whangarei as a coach for a couple of years when Judd Flavel and Petal Cameron were just starting out. Those years of coaching, I think, really gave me more understanding of what a training program was about and what I needed to do myself, more than I had been prior to the injury.
And how did you choose javelin and pentathlon? I guess it would have been more logical to go into wheelchair rugby or wheelchair basketball. Why was it track and field?
Yeah, so wheelchair rugby didn't start till really 1990s, but that was what everyone done. Everybody did it in those days, and I threw the shot in the disc. And the pentathlon was because I actually tell you, it's really sitting on a chair and throwing implements all day long. It's not the most attractive sport if you've been a basketball player. There's no sort of leading people into a trap and all that sort of things. So anyway, but javelin, I just seemed to have an arm for it. basically. So I kept doing better and better and better and better. And the pentathlon allowed me to have a whole one-day event, which was more interesting. I found it very interesting, more challenging.
Did you get as much satisfaction from coaching as you did from competing?
Almost. Yep. I had some really good teams, and being able to, make positive influences in the game to which then you would win was really rewarding. Winning championships with teams, very rewarding. And just, I was young. I was 21 and I was coaching the Auckland under-20 team. And so I still see a few of the guys, and we're almost the same age now.
Incredible. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. I loved the coaching.
Interesting, you said almost. I've heard that from so many elite athletes who have gone into coaching, and they get a buzz. They get almost the buzz of doing it themselves, Dave, but just not quite. Would that be the case with you?
Yeah. It's shooting that winning shot.
Yeah.
That's you can't take that away from players. And yeah, just the effort too, just being in the grind, and with your other teammates, it's superb. Basketball day, well, I'm so dedicated. I still watch all the NBL games, keep up with it.
What was your work with the Helberg Foundation? What did that consist of mainly?
The focus of the foundation and Murray's trust deed early on was to give young people with disabilities a opportunity to get involved in sport and recreation. And that's what they do, and they do it in different ways. We did it within schools, within communities, trying to break down barriers. And probably the best thing that came along was the Independence Games that were run by CCS back in the day were folding, and Helberg took them up and created the Helberg Games for about 12 years now. And that is just a wonderful festival of sport and community. People from all over the country come together, and there's just smiles everywhere. The parents are getting a lot out of it. Just seeing their children achieve like they hadn't seen before at school settings. So, that's basically the kaupapa there, is to get young physically disabled people into being active.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So what takes up most of your time these days?
I'm on the Waihi Beach School Board. I hand cycle, try and keep myself fit, trying to keep, this aging process in bay.
Aren't we all?
Got 2 grandsons living with us, trying to help them with their basketball and sport. So, and I've got a little acre of land here that keeps us busy. Brilliant stuff. And you happy with the way the book came out? Yeah, Tommy did a great job. Good journalist, has known me since I was 14 in the legendary Newtown Stadium in Wellington. And just the camaraderie, the friendship we built over the 4 years it took. And yeah, he didn't want it to be complicated. Less was more, in a very sort of jazz sort of feel.
Yes.
And it's come out really well. Everybody says great read. It's not complex. It's a simple read, and a lot of good stories.
Outstanding. Well, you've told us a bunch of good ones today, Dave. Look, thanks so much for sharing your journey with us. Congrats on the book, and all the best for what lies ahead. I get the feeling there's still much more to come in your life.
I hope so, Jason. If I just say, if anybody wants the book, they can get it online at Copy Press or Wheelers or the Waihi Beach Hardware.
Brilliant. Here's to Life and All That Jazz by Dave McCalman. Dave, again, thanks for your time. All the best for the festive season.
Pleasure. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Dave. Dave McCalman, what a man. 3-time Paralympic medalist, 4-time Paralympian, and, by the sounds of it, a guy who has squeezed every ounce out of his life. His book is called Here's to Life and All That Jazz. And, it's a good read. And what a top bloke. What a good man.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.